Good evening and welcome to another community forum for this Wednesday, the 14th of February. Chris, it's Wednesday. Good evening, viewers, listeners, wherever you are. Chris, today is the 14th of February. Is it any significance for you, Chris?
Good evening, Mr. Good night, Mr. Byron Campbell. And welcome back to another episode of Community Forum. And let me extend the best of wishes to those of us who celebrate Valentine's Day. I try to be as pink as I could. Byron didn't get a pink tie, but
yeah.
So yes, the best of wishes to those of us who are celebrating, and I hope everything goes well. It's back. It's good to be back after a week break.
After a week break, Independence, and we're going to be talking a lot about this. We have a special guest this evening, no other than Honorable Ray Roberts, to talk about all kinds of things besides sports, politics, unionism, union matters, labor matters. Sporting matters. Interesting conversation. Viewers, please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you're an athlete or work in an environment that requires regular drug screening.
Interested in STI screening? What about renal, liver, or thyroid tests?
All these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
At Allied Laboratories, we are committed to providing the best service with accurate results. We now have 3 fully equipped locations to better serve you. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488. You can contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488. Or you can contact our newest addition, the Guelph branch, at 404-3488. Or send us an email.
We're taking care of Grenada.
Welcome back, viewers, to Community Forum for this Wednesday, the 14th, Valentine's Day. Chris, I'm going to tell you Happy Valentine's. But certainly, 50th Independence Anniversary celebration. It's a big deal. Well, it's going to run for a year, but clearly the last week was intense with a range of activities around the island, the nation, the nationals coming home. As I said, the diaspora was well represented. What stood out for you, Chris, in this celebration?
First of all, I want to extend congratulations to the organizing team, Dr. Crawford, and the celebrations committee, and everybody who assisted and were pulled in, because I thought most of the shows were pretty well produced. I didn't go to all, but those that I went to and witnessed on television, I thought
I went to all.
Yeah,
I went to all. Yeah.
But I don't have your energy. But no, and what stood out for me, I think, the Prime Minister's unveiling the $50 note and his speech at that night, I was present for that. I went to the joint sitting of Parliament, which I thought was well done in terms of the speeches given by the parliamentarians. I missed Breadfruit celebration, much to my annoyance, but Independence Day went well, I thought, and but I did make it to Morris breakfast.
You did. Yes. I recall seeing you there. Chris, I agree, but you mentioned the Prime Minister's address on the matter of going forward, the next 25 years. But I thought what was most interesting, and I think I give him full credit for that and respect the fact that he's saying, look, everybody went there expecting a layout from his perspective or the government perspective for the next 25 years. So therefore, and he says, look, we have a national development plan. It's existing. It's there. We adopt it. We want to work with this. I'm saying, and in fact, he even suggested that maybe it should be legislated. It should be law. That every project, for example, anything that is done, any investment that is done must reflect that national sustainable development plan. So for me, that was a big deal. You know?
I mean, a couple of things stood out for me. First of all, it wasn't partisan politics. He wasn't playing that. It was all about national development. That was one. And the fact that he indicated that we have a document, let's start there, we're not reinventing the wheel, let's take it, move with it. The document is very detailed, we could adjust here and there as we move forward. And the last thing that stood out for me, he said, you know, this is not about government. This is about we the people. We must get up every morning, look in the mirror and say what it is we're doing for our country today, and not the other way around. And he said, and when it came to health care, education, and the pillars that he touched on, and agriculture, and how he linked it, it's all about we as Grenadians getting ready to work and make the changes that is required. It's not a government thing. It is a Grenada thing, and it's all about us, the citizens of Grenada. And I thought that was well done.
There's a little controversy, I could call it that, comments from social media, and I think some persons in the community, commentaries on the commemorative $50 note in terms of what should it represent, what should represent on that note. The key persons there is, of course, we see as Maurice Bishop and Eric Gary, you know. I mean, some persons were of the view that the longest serving prime minister, the longest serving parliamentarian during the period of the 50 years would have been better represented, you know. But this is history. I mean, it's done, it's a done deal, and it will go forward. But I picked up that commentary. But I want to say, but what you thought of it?
No, well, I mean, the reality of it is no matter who you put on the note, there would be some controversy of some sort because of the political personalities. And you know what is ironic about it, you know, we had Gary on one side, Maurice on the other side, and that is how it was when independence came. You know, Gary was fighting to get it in a particular way, Maurice was fighting on the other side. But both of them share the same nationalistic views. This is what is important. We need to put the politics of both of them aside. Gary was fighting for us to become independent. Maurice was one that signed the accord for ECCB to establish the OECS. He signed other documents that get us on the national playing field. So they were both all about the nationalism. Probably both of them wanted to do it differently, but that is the history now. So I don't think, from where I sit, I didn't think it was controversial for me. I think the both of them contributed immensely.
Would you invest in that bill? Would you?
Of course.
Okay, great. Look, a couple of things stood out for me. One, you know, the St. Andrews celebration. Because you had parish level celebrations. St. Andrews, what impressed me most was the Harper's School of Music, where they had over, I think, 25 youngsters, like a brass band, literally. And these youngsters were, I was impressed. I mean, the future for music in Grenada, when I saw this, is good. If you have a chance, it's on YouTube, listen to it, very impressive. Also, Guelph, you know, their last Friday celebration was epic in my view, because it was in a narrow street, it was very intimate. The people at Guelph St. John's came out. The culture was kind of roots culture, you know, drumming and dance, and the food, excellent. And I give Guelph, the people of St. John's, high credit for that. Also, the Breadfruit Festival, which was held in Victoria on the tennis court. Police band was there, so it got fairly good recognition. But the variety of dishes, menus, out of breadfruit. My thing was, how do we take it to the next level? If I want to purchase these things, or I want to make it, where are the recipes? How? I was impressed. I mean,
breadfruit ice cream.
It had, but when we got there, there was a line, and so
I'm making an appeal. I would like to get some breadfruit ice cream. I don't know who I had to talk to. If it's our friend that came on the show that spoke about the Breadfruit Festival.
What's his name?
No,
yes, right.
I need to get some breadfruit ice cream because I didn't make the Breadfruit Festival. I got my dates tied up, but
we'll be talking about the 50th anniversary. This is not the end of it. It continues, but given the organizers and the committees. And also what the plans for in terms of going forward, the continuation and the involvement of young people and others in the community in discussions and dialogue and how we go forward, what is required, because going up would require a lot of energy.
I think what is highlighted for us to the festivals and all the things that is the young people that are in the creative arts. You talk about the brass, you talk about the various dancing, you talk about the drumming. And there's a lot of young people that was showcased, in my view. And this government has decided that the creative arts must be a sector of the economy must develop. And I think this showcasing of the amount of young people, the talent, was well received, and is something
Yeah.
that we need to
Yeah.
continue to harness
Mhm.
and push it as far as we can with
No,
the
that's
creative
true.
arts. You know,
And
so-
one dimension of it, Chris, in all the activities, the festivals, the vendors, whether it was the craft persons or those in added value products, agro processing, the display and the varieties were impressive, and they made some money too. I'm glad about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the vendors would have had a bumper time because,
Yeah.
I mean, most of them, and the shows were well attended by our diaspora and locals. So the attendance, when they had the craft section in the Independence Day, the amount of craft, I mean, and eats and things that was showcased, and I'm quite certain a lot of them sold out.
Yeah,
You know, so I thought that was well done as well, you know.
Chris, I just want to make some brief mention of the farm. There's a farm. We Grenada supplies farm labor to the Canada. There's an agreement there.
Particularly, yes.
Particularly, and there is a lawsuit that challenges that migrant farm worker system. Canada has a 50-year policy of tying migrant workers to the employers. You see, but this has been denounced as a modern-day slavery because they argue that because they are tied to the employers, they are prevented from complaining, or if they do, they get deported. So there's a major lawsuit. We'll talk about it some more that is taking place because all workers, I think, is for half of 500 million Canadian dollars, so it's huge, and they have evidence of racism and other factors existing there. But we'll see what coming. There was unfortunately a fire in the south of the island where a young lady lost her life. But Chris, what I want to ask you about, there was a special sitting of the House of Parliament, and a past parliamentarian, you were there. What you thought of it?
It was well executed. Anytime you have a joint sitting is always a historic kind of thing, and we had the visiting president from Ghana here, and I think part of it was in his honor as well, and to recognize the 50th anniversary. But what was impressive is that our parliamentarians stayed away from the politics and the tribal politics, and it was all about nationals who contributed to getting us to 50, and honoring them and mentioning them and so on, which I thought was well done. Yes, it was long, but I thought that was a well done event, and having it created the history as well for the 50. Yeah.
Excellent. The final matter I want to press on, Chris, and we always talk about it in our program, is the situation in Gaza, which continues. Unfortunately, the death toll is now up to 28,500. Over almost 70,000 people have now been injured. But what's interesting there is the UN, the Secretary General, warns of an age of chaos because he thinks the Security Council is divided on Gaza. He said it is time for an immediate ceasefire and the unconditional release of the hostages. He said our world is entering an age of chaos, a dangerous and unpredictable free-for-all with total immunity. That's not good at all. But I always ask, what is Grenada's position? I've not heard our foreign policy minister make a statement on the matter. For me, this is so unfortunate, and I'm really looking for some kind of solution down the road.
Well, I mean, Byron, at this stage at the war, and the war started in October 7th.
Yeah.
And we're in February.
Yes.
So it has gone months. And our country has not put out an official foreign position. Foreign Affairs Minister, through our Prime Minister, have not stated out. I don't think we would, because at the end of the day, I suppose we play in the sides to see what can come out. And but as a sovereign nation that doesn't have a lot of clout on the international scene, so to speak, because we're dependent on a lot of stuff, the US and all of that. So I suspect that playing it safe, and I don't think we will get a comment.
A statement. And the West, the US in particular, and Britain continue to supply unlimited arms to Israel. They're accountable. They must account also for this genocide that's taking place.
Well, within England in particular, there seem to be a lot of opposition now coming up with this thing and so on, but how far that goes and if it changes policies and other issues.
Yeah, that's all the time we have on this. Viewers, stay with us. We'll be right back with Ray Roberts. Stay with us. Bye-bye. Yeah. See you.
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you're an athlete or work in an environment that requires regular drug screening.
Interested in STI screening? What about renal, liver, or thyroid tests?
All these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
At Allied Laboratories, we are committed to providing the best service with accurate results. We now have 3 fully equipped locations to better serve you. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488. You can contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488. Or you can contact our newest addition, the Guelph branch, at 404-3488. Or send us an email.
We're taking care of Grenada.
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you're an athlete or work in an environment that requires regular drug screening.
Interested in STI screening? What about renal, liver, or thyroid tests?
All these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
At Allied Laboratories, we are committed to providing the best service with accurate results. We now have 3 fully equipped locations to better serve you. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488. You can contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488. Or you can contact our newest addition, the Guelph branch, at 404-3488. Or send us an email.
We're taking care of Grenada.
Welcome back, viewers, to Community Forum. This evening, as we advertised earlier, we have none other than Senator the Honorable, when he used to be in the Senate, Ray Roberts. So past Senator Ray, as we all know, is a labor enthusiast, has been in the labor movement for years, holding various positions on the council, the Labor Council, so the TUC. So Ray is very versed in labor matters, and we're going to tackle him on some of those issues. He is also a politician and went contested the general elections at one time. Unfortunately, didn't win this position, but that is good experience. Yeah. And on top of that, he's a journalist of his own right and have worked in many houses, media houses, and has quite a lot of experience there in the journalistic field. So Ray, welcome to Community Forum. It's a pleasure to have you.
Well, good evening to you and to all your viewers and listeners. It's always a pleasure to be with 2 distinguished gentlemen of the highest order. So I take that as a very privileged day on Valentine's Day to sit with you 2 gentlemen.
I didn't see your pink shirt, but I see your red.
All in red.
I mean, all for the labor movement. That's the colors, right? But we have independence mix on it
all
this
right.
time.
Good.
But I want to start off with you on the issue of minimum wage and throw something at you that I've been getting back since we instituted the minimum wage order from the 1st of January. And that is, I have a number of people who have said and commented, some have called me, that in the rural side of the economy, small shops in particular, that will have 1 person helping or 2 person helping in the shop, cannot afford to pay the new wage rate that have been set and have to let go some of these people. Some of them are even closing. They're not operating full hours as before. So it is having that kind of effect. And I've said before the minimum wage came, what was the consideration for that type of the business in the rural economy and the effect on it, as well as people who were employed as domestic helpers, people who are employed for to help with people in the geriatric area. they can't afford some of them anymore, so they're letting them go. And the issue is, you know, some people will say, well, boss, you know, I'm willing to take 800 instead of 12 or 900, but it's breaking the law. And it puts the employer and the employee in a situation where some want to work, they like to have them, they can't afford. What is your thoughts on this?
Well, all of these have merit, and perhaps what maybe should have been there is a sort of hourly arrangement. So you can not pay for a day, but you can pay for 3 or 4 hours.
Right.
So I think that would have created, if I may say, something that is affordable for everyone. Because yes, you are there for 8 hours for 800, but we have to accept the reality that cost of living is certainly not what it was 10, 20 years ago. So I support the new minimum wage, but I agree with you that there are people, and in our time when we were in the TUC and you were very active in the Employers Federation, we always had that back and front.
Yeah.
But I think really that perhaps what should have been implemented is that hourly thing that you have a helper, you have someone, you can say, look, this will now be 3 hours, $60 an hour, $25, whatever it is. I'm just calling numbers.
Yeah.
But I think that might have solved that debatable issue.
Yeah, and I think, you know, to just extend it, there's a need to define what is a daily rate. Because in the agricultural sector, you have a similar issue that's
Right.
going to come up if a person wants to work. Because in the agricultural sector, I know the minimum wage say you have to work a minimum of 5 hours, but some people, based on the time they start, they may not be able, or they can't afford to pay for 5 hours at the current rate.
It's
So
$60, I think,
right.
is a day.
So is there something that you could get as a balance and a compromise so that both sides could benefit? People are still employed, because we grew up on the mantra, half a loaf is better than none.
Yeah, I still believe in that.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think there is room for the powers that be and the Minister of Labour and her team to look at that again and see how we could come up with something. I don't know if you think that.
Well, I agree with
the
you,
TUC
because I
will
mean,
look at.
let's face it this way. There could be no reversing in the minimum wage, because I mean, it's just like the debate. You remember when the security guards,
Yeah.
and there was this, it was a $3 hike or something like that, and then there was the sort of compromise of $2 or whatever it is. So I think, you know, that dialogue should always continue. I mean, in our times, I remember after Ivan, there was this heated debate about increases and so forth. And there was the good dialogue between the employers and the trade union, and we agreed on some basic things.
Yeah.
And when things became normal again, we went back to what was expected. So I think I agree with you, and I don't see that should be a debate. I think it's just something that would ensure there is balance, jobs are kept. Yes, as you said, a minimum half a loaf is better than none. And I could understand what you're saying, because as I said to some people, I remember at one point, I had somebody looking after my son. Well, if it was that price, working with government, I couldn't do it. So I understand what you're saying. So I would hope that, and I think I would want to believe President Andre is open to dialogue. I would think all the unions are open to dialogue. So it's something that we can...
Security business is a major area, because a lot of them announce increases to us in the private sector. A lot of us have said, no, we can't take the services as we used to. So if we used to take them for 8 hours and we would take, and we had them for 12 hours, depending on the business, into the night, some of businesses are saying, no, we can't, we put in cameras or something and get rid of the security. And you know, that is causing a ripple in that industry as well. Similarly, the baking industry. I have a very good friend in Frequente in baking, and he said, you know, nobody discussed it with him, and he's having difficulty meeting the new rates for bakers and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So, you know, there is, and I hope we could come to something on that.
Well, before you go out there, I think one of the problems we have with as citizens, too many of us like to remain silent. We keep that thought or whatever we perceive into maybe the dining room or the living room. I think we need more people like you in the society who will express themselves, because that dialogue with the group that what is it, the Gilchrist group that looked after the minimum wage. I observed a couple of the forum, and I don't think the numbers were what they should be.
Yeah,
So I would think that people should take these activities more serious and come and offer you whatever it is, your 2 cents. So again,
We don't like to sit and discuss these kind of things, you know. When we were doing the referendum for the constitution reform, we don't come out. And then when you hear it gets emotional and they talk about things, and everybody says, yeah, they're jumping up now. But you know, we don't come and sit down and have, in my view, you know, serious discussions and the pros and the cons. And then we come to a position where we could say, all right, we decide to go here or go there. And that is something we have to encourage among people. And I think that's what our Prime Minister is trying to do tonight when they're unveiling, that a lot of these things is on us as citizens.
well, I would think so. And you would recall that we had the social partners.
That's right.
I mean, we were there, you were there, and you heard, I mean, in fact, I think I enjoyed that gathering
Of course.
more than any other gathering, because the Prime Minister was there, and those of us on the Labour side, we never shy away. Those were the late Judy Williams and her side.
On the NGO side.
Right, and there was the Conference of Churches, the Pentecostal Assembly. And I mean, you know, we didn't get all what we want, but we were able to at least start a discussion and draw people's attention to issues.
A lot of times we would agree to disagree, but the point is, as Ray said, a lot of things came out and everybody understood each other's side
Right.
and what was happening on it. The last thing before I bring in Byron is journalism. And I want to get your take on it. Will appear as early in this, well, probably the last few months in 2023, this government and journalists were having knocks. And there were a time when they had a boycott. They didn't attend certain things because the government would have appeared or allegedly sanctioned who they wanted at certain events and so on. You think it's a problem, or do you believe that better work should be done on both sides and not
Well, let me put it
alleged
this way.
sides?
As I say to people, there will always be the media and the government. It's adversaries. There's no way they're going to be Valentine's Day for these two groups. There will always be, because whether we like it or not, media in smaller islands is really, I mean, party. In the sense that you wait, no, I want to finish that because that is important.
Ask hard questions.
Yeah, but the point
Never stop.
the point I'm making to you, whereas in the first world, there's the biasness still. Antigua, I shared an article with Chester recently. It's the same calamity that we have in here. You seemingly have your side, and you come there to ask questions that seemingly represent a biasness rather than being intellectually strong and ask worthy questions. I would hope that does not continue, because the one issue that I thought was a little bit, even I wouldn't say unnecessary, you could have make your feeling known, the one with the government house swearing in ministers. I mean, I was Director of Information. I worked way back from Gary days. Jerry Romaine was always the man. He was the class person, always titled. Then Selwyn Noel was the one who used to do it. So I never knew there was a crowd with a slipper and anything you go to the government house. So I couldn't understand that one, how, you know, that was a right. Because as you know, the GG house always require invitation and some kind of ceremonial wear. Right, so I don't understand that one. The others, as I say, the monthly press conference or the weekly press conference, well, I think the Media Association, to me, as I said to them, I would voice my concern, but I would certainly try to have a dialogue with the press secretary, Director of Information. That's how I know it. You know, Nancy Maguire, always give her a lot of credit. We had our battles with Prime Minister Mitchell, but her channel was always open to us. We didn't get everything, but quite frankly, we were able to send messages, and I think that should always continue.
Yeah, because you get a sense, and I don't want to say press freedoms are being stymied from a point of view of political, as you say, biases one way or the other, whether it's journalists having a pass or giving this government a pass based on what they will ask or not ask. and others who ask difficult questions are being put to a corner. So you have that. And I'm not saying this is new. This has always been there. But as I say, and I agree with you, and that's why I said both sides needs to make adjustments. If we want to encourage open discussion, media must step up, as you say.
Correct.
And do what they have to do, Byron, and ask the difficult questions. And I think we need more investigative journalism to back what we're asking and how we're doing it. And let those who offer themselves for public office and other things come up as well to the table and say, listen, I am willing to answer you, this is my answer, or not answering. And as you're right as well. But I think we need to raise that level.
I'll tell you one thing which I've always said to people. I don't know, maybe I have it wrong, but I've never really experienced press freedom, in my case, being stifled. You know, I told you when I came, I was here for 13 years.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I never accepted a salary, but I spent 13 years here basically running the news.
At MTV.
And Cablevision 5 years too. So the point I'm making here is that I sort of understood what was whoever in charge, his policy unwritten though. And well, I still with the voice. I remember, could I just take a minute to tell you how I got with the voice?
Let me ask you about this.
Yeah.
Clearly. That you continue, of course, to be to write the inside moves.
The voice.
The voice. But before we come to that, Ray, I want you to put on your, because I'm coming to this, but I want you to put on your political hat for a little bit, you know, because you mentioned a minute ago that the work or the results from the social partners working with the government. Clearly, this administration has discontinued this. Some of the social partners have said it should be reactivated. It is an important medium for consultation and dialogue. Do you think this is something the government should consider?
I thought it was very useful, and I would, if you ask me, I would say yes. Because, you know, as I said, I remember when that Karakou issue was on. What it was, a jetty or what it was doing. It was impacting the oyster beds.
Yes. There's one down in Happy Vale.
Right. I know we didn't stop it, but we got an expert from Barbados to do an analysis. Yes, we must have, we held it back for quite a while. Maybe they went through and maybe they did whatever they had to do. But the point I'm making, it opened people's eyes to scientific knowledge because the woman didn't come, you know, to be on.
Why do you think the government is not bothered with this or don't see the use of it?
Well, I wouldn't know. I mean, I'm not in cabinet. I'm not in any grouping that influence that. So that
you don't
thing.
know. So I need to put that question to someone else.
Yeah.
Look, you're in the South. You live in the South of the island. In fact, you've run for the position of the to represent the people of the South. We have Andy Williams represent the South. He's the Minister of MIT, Mobilization and Implementation. When I look at social media, there's a lot of, and in the news, there's a lot happening in the South in terms of beautification, enhancement, small projects all over the place. I mean, that's a fact. Your tennis courts, your sports, your lighting, name it, and it's happening in the South. Some of the persons in the other constituencies are complaining. They're saying, it is one side, it's only happening in the South, St. George South constituency. It's not happening around the island. Do you see that? What is your take on this? Is it a fair comment?
Well, let me put it this way. I would love to see the lottery do a little more because I will just say one thing. I'm like you, I move around, but mainly sports brings me around. The Paralympics take me around too. I remember going to Loreto and I saw the basketball court and I said to people, they said that is like that for about 5 or more years. Yeah. And there was one in Bonaire at the same time, then there's one, is it Subies you call it? I think Subies, right. Now, as I said to a friend of mine who had some influence in the lottery, why are you waiting on government? If this is sports and culture and everything good, it doesn't cost $1 million. So maybe you could take that as a project, just as how Spice Isle Retreaders, they take the roundabout, which you want to call the Caracom roundabout, as a project. Somebody took the one in Tantine and take it as a project and ensure
But the
these
rest of the country really doesn't have the level of business and commerce that the South has.
I'm
But
saying-
you're not answering the question.
I'm
Is it
answering
a
the
fair
question.
comment of the people in other parts of the island that they see...
I could give you a
Or they see,
solution.
that they see emphasis or the focus being in the South and not in other parts of the island?
Well,
Is it a
what
fair
I can
comment on them?
what I can tell you is that
Yeah,
in terms of the one in the south,
yeah.
that is long overdue. I mean,
I'm not
it's
talking
a
about
shi-
tennis court. I'm talking
No, no,
about
I'm not
general.
talking- I'm talking
about general.
Well, it would be it's an unfair question to me.
Yeah.
Because I am not that much following all the playing fields and what's happening.
Okay.
I just give you an example of 2 courts,
Yeah.
and I think you should give me some attention.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, as I said, it could be projects that the lottery
Yeah.
could take on.
Yes.
It's not $1 million.
I want to add a third one.
Tell me.
Golf.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get their court covered for
Well,
ages.
I agree with you.
50 years.
And
Because
golf
that's
is
one
a
thing I
project
see.
again that we
Correct.
could have one covered court that
So
could
that's what I'm
facilitate
saying.
so many basketball competitions.
No, that's what I'm saying. You see, I always argue that
Yeah.
whether the government before or this
Yeah.
government, I think whoever the talent to me in the lottery is
Yeah.
very substandard.
Yeah.
Because I can't understand, as I say to people every day, this thing is supposed to be national development.
Yeah.
One of
Sports and culture.
the best way to fight juvenile delinquency is through sport. I mean, there's nothing else you could do. Sport seems to gel people. And I think when I look at a basketball court, that is something we should always keep, working. And the golf thing again, it's I possibly on a regular basis. It's always Naka and whoever it is.
Yes.
So I'm saying that things like that, whoever the people on the lottery should be more thoughtful
Yeah.
and not wait on maybe the Ministry of Sport.
I
or
know, but
something.
but the government clearly, if one's part of the island is getting this amount of resources,
I hope
that it should be
there are
spread
more.
around. But staying with sports, achievement in sports, 50 years, Rick. Who should be celebrating? But the question is, what impact has sports have on our development over the past 50 years?
Well, we celebrated Kirani's on the
Yeah,
note.
exactly. But I have to understand too that you're part of my sources tell me that you're part of a wider committee who is meeting
Yeah.
to select 50 persons
Right.
to recognize for this 50th anniversary.
Right.
What's the process like in doing this?
Well, the process is that it's a journey over the 50 years. You're going to set a criteria, your involvement, the impact of your leadership, the creativity you brought to the sport, your consistency. I mean, in terms of the athletes, the competitors,
It's administrative as well as athletes.
yes, as well as coaches, as well as
Yes, administration.
as well as supporters. You not as player, you are a businessman. So business community, I mean, I call the late C.K. Sylvester.
CK, yeah,
Right,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
So there are people. So there we have put together a criteria, and the hope is that it will be difficult in some instances. I mean, these athletes are not going to be that hard because, quite frankly, Kurani has to be the ultimate. I mean,
Yes.
nobody else has done that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So that part of it is going to be hopefully done. Well, we doing our thing via the Olympic Committee. I was asked by them.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah. So you continue to write inside moves, you
Yes.
know. I mean, after all this, it's amazing, you know.
Yeah.
And I just want to take you on some of the things that you recently wrote about. You said about the Grenada Athletics and Grenada Football Association. They are commemorating 100 years
Yes,
anniversary,
yes.
2024. What is significant about this, really? I mean,
Well, let's put it this way. Football, athletics, and cricket in Grenada,
Yeah.
handed down by
Yeah,
the colonial people.
Yeah.
And as much as we knock them, as I say to
Yeah.
people, they have left us with some things that we should give them credit for.
Yeah.
You know? Because unlike other islands, I mean, we have had functioning cricket and football and athletics for all our years.
100 years.
Not run by politicians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Let's take athletics.
Yeah.
I say to people whenever I travel and they talk about, what does Grenada give our athletes, or what makes Grenada in terms of the world so big? Because to win 3 Olympic medals, to win World Championship medal. I mean, China didn't win a medal at the last World
Exactly.
Championship, you know.
Yeah.
China with how many? A billion?
A billion plus,
Didn't
yeah.
win any.
Well,
Grenada with
100,000.
100,000. Most of us have maybe malnutrition. But look what we did.
Awesome.
So I say to people,
Yeah.
we stage about 100, it's almost 100 athletic games every year, you know, pre-primary, primary, secondary, the athletic association, villages. It's almost 100, sometimes 106. So you imagine a 3-year-old, then you have the primary school, then you have the secondary, and then you have the national. And to be doing that over the years, quite frankly, you have to credit the teachers.
So how
union.
would they be celebrating this
Well,
centennial?
the unfortunate thing is I don't think they have released any real plan that brings the public awareness. The same thing with football.
Well, in defense of the president when he was on our show,
Yeah.
he did allude to some things. I mean, he and I had a meeting from a business perspective on some of the events.
Okay.
They have quite an elaborate plan afoot.
Public,
And,
unfortunately, not really.
well, I suppose they ain't ready to release it yet because they're trying to understand if they will get support, financial and otherwise, for some of the things they want to do. So I suspect that is part of it. But they do have an elaborate plan
Program coming
for
up.
a program coming
Because
up for the 100 years.
It's
and
it's
to highlight
major. Yeah.
what football has contributed both on the parish level and grassroots level and beyond, and where they would like to see the sport go. I think that is part of the big parts of the celebration.
Well, I would hope so, because I will tell you one thing, and I'm factual about it. Sports is not on the up in Grenada. You know.
It's not on the up.
No.
We have character games
No,
coming.
no. I'm not
What do
talking
you
about
mean?
hosting things. Go
Well,
to Tantine in the afternoon, or go to Gov, and see how many people you see on the playing field. The Prime Minister made one comment, which I thought, for me, was the most important comment for Grenada as a people, that the hospital is not a problem here. You know.
Yes, he did.
The problem is we.
Yeah,
Don't you see
problem
when
is we.
I mean, no disrespect to anybody, but we are, was it the Borough period when you had fat people?
Yeah.
That is what we have in. You just look at any of the secondary schools having a cross country. And you have to ask yourself, what is it that? I mean, I'm in Tantine. Goddard has a fitness club. Okay, what is it, Lionel Goddard? Geneva, right?
yes.
Lester Smith has one there. If these two people are not there, you could go begin to tether animals there again.
So, Ray, to substantiate what you say, so I live in the community of Mount Morris.
Mount Morris
And
don't have a cricket team anymore.
and we have one of the most perfect playing fields. Well kept, with facilities.
Good.
And most days, it's empty. There's
Well,
no
that's
one
the point
there.
I'm making.
So we
That's the point I'm
asking,
making.
where are they used? There's a basketball
Yeah,
court
that's what I'm saying.
with lights.
Yeah.
And there's football netting and small goal netting.
Right.
Somebody
Could I
said they're on
answer
the
that?
tablets on the phone. You know?
Yeah.
No, but
So
I
what
don't
is-
think
so
it's
what you
tablets
say-
alone.
So what you're saying is correct, Ray.
Well, let me give you one thing, as I say to
Yeah.
people every day.
Yeah,
GBSS has 800 students.
yeah.
I never went there, but I used to be there every day. The hostel,
Yeah.
with the flying turkey and them, I used to go there, and that's why the table tennis blossom.
Yeah.
So go there and beat as many people as possible. Well, the majority of them are everybody. You had badminton, you had chess, you had table tennis, you had every sport. The auditorium had 4 tables,
Yeah.
badminton. There were, well, I have pictures, in fact.
Yeah.
You know, I brought a picture to show the manager of Hubbard's, Osman Henry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I could show you his picture as a 12-year-old. It's not that I'm 100 years, but I used to be there, and he used to be part of the table tennis thing. I'm saying to you, there's no table tennis in GBSS. There's no badminton
So
there.
how do we
Well, the state has to do something about it.
Well, the Prime Minister spoke about it.
I'm saying,
you know.
look, I was in Lassiter's playing field.
Yeah.
Grenada gave away the match to St. Lucia. The 2 last batters, women just run out.
Yeah.
Maybe they panic. But if you had 100 people watching Grenada play in a final,
See.
that's what I'm saying. And let me put it this way. I could count, and I won't say who it is, but I could count how many people working in sports at the Ministry of Sports. When I worked in the Ministry of Sports, Roy St. John was the minister. You can have a Grenada thing. Every coach has to go. Every worker has to pass or go. It was compulsory. The PRG era. And I usually tell people, they ask me who, see, the best minister of sports was Roy St. John. The second best minister was Spaceman. The third was Jacqueline Cliff. People ask me, what you call Jackie? I say, well, let me tell you, she had Key Joseph, the late Blundell Church. Cecil Greenwich was there at some point too. And the point I'm making to you, it seems that the people who worked there were passionate about what they're doing. If you go to Tantine, Albert Joseph, Lee, and Cato, 3 coaches you see there in Tantine. You may see a couple in Queen's Park. So if you have 80-something of them, where the other?
So it's hosting events like the Carifta Games, which we are making great preparations for. You commented on this. It's March 30th, 31st,
Yeah.
April 1st. Is such an event encourage young persons to come in the sport because they've seen the
But
glamour?
you need people
Yeah.
like how Chris and Pointy and others used to be.
That kind
That's the
of-
kind of mobilization you need.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be the mobilizer.
What can the state do
The
to
state,
enhance this?
well, look, Joman called me today, and Joman, if you're listening, my apology, I know I have to call you back, but
Yeah.
I told you where I was taking up. Since Joman become incapacitated,
Yeah, basketball.
you ever see anything on the Caranat?
No.
Yeah.
You should
It's
sponsor.
interesting thing,
You ever
yes.
see anything on the Caranat?
Oh, it's interesting
Nothing.
comment, yes.
Drive down, well, I see people on the Granats basketball court, but I used to drive people there. 2 people on the court. Happy Hill, lit, 6 people.
So,
Yeah, but
so what are you saying about the young people?
Well, not the young people
Yeah.
only. We have to, there was a priest, Father, he used to be in Guelph. He started the youth creek,
Yeah.
whatever was his name. He used to come to Ghana and do so. He used to say to the church in Ghana, I noticed the people from Guelph and the people from this parish, they are all moving into the more affluent areas, the lands of people. So he's saying to them, if you don't go back and help them, then they will come and get you because you're abandoning the community.
Yeah.
So too many of our people are abandoning the community, meaning that they no longer see the club as viable. They may learn some intellectual talent or some financial talent, but they're not prepared to sit down and group people together, like in my era.
and we're losing them fast, eh? The Naka Josephs. and
Well,
all
that's
these
what's
people,
happening.
we're losing them
Nobody
fast.
seems willing. Look, Queen's Park Rangers used to be River Road.
Yep.
Perfect River Road, and I could talk about it because I used to be a follower of them.
Yeah.
Union, I was talking to Dominic Lewis today. Union is where Ron Lewis came from, and it's a village where cricket is just
It's a
synonymous.
sport.
Yeah.
Dominic tell me they now have to get players from outside to make a team. So I'm saying the emphasis has to be on you need to revive community leadership. You need, even though maybe you have to pay them, but you need to find people. Well, maybe they say, in Gary days it might have been politics, but I remember in those days there were people, well, I think some of them were overstated, but like the Dandarat and them, when they used to come down Granans, I don't know they were any politician, but they kept us together in athletics, in table tennis, in football, in netball, and so forth. So maybe you need to pay people a salary like Joe Mann used to volunteer in the Caranas, do it well, to keep these activities going. No, I know they're talking about parish
Because
council.
we have the facilities.
yes.
We have beautiful facilities
We
around
light
the
up a
island.
lot of fields.
But
you
a
know.
lot of it. But Ray, at the same time, though, we are likely to advance into the second round of the CONCACAF World Cup qualification tournament. Isn't
When?
that? Huh?
When?
Can we? Where are we in this tournament?
Well, the tournament kicks, the World Cup qualifying kicks off June the 9th. I think we play Trinidad and Tobago, then we play Costa Rica.
So we can.
Costa Rica.
We can
forward and
qualify.
backward.
I hope we could qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah.
I hope so.
But my
So I
view
mean,
is-
all is not lost with us. I mean,
No,
we
no,
do
no,
have.
no. All is not lost.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that we are not, maybe to me, getting enough young people to
Well, I
be
think I
involved
want to
in
make a
sports.
comment on this sports thing because
Yeah.
Ray could correct me if I'm wrong, because he's in this longer than me. But when you look at the countries like Jamaica and Trinidad and so on who have done well at the sporting level internationally, whether it be football, netball, or whatever the case, money seems to be a major part or component of getting these national teams to the
Yes.
level
Yes,
that they
yes.
need to be at for international competition. And I must indeed say, when it comes to these small islands, the OECS and those of us who struggle to meet budget, I don't see how we're going to be at the international level in terms of quality if we don't back it with the finance that is needed.
I agree with you.
And finance, whether you take netball or football or whichever, cricket or whichever. I mean, we see the demise of West Indies and what's
Yeah,
happening.
but we are contributing to it more than ever. Look, we were talking today about the same demise of cricket. We used to have in the parish where, well, we had structure. First
Yes.
of all, there was the St. George's, and there were even the South League and the Northeast League and so forth. And then there's the inter-parish. You have not had any inter-parish 3-day or 2-day, more than 5 years for sure. So we pick teams from T20 and which is popular, and that can produce no world-class player because that is more entertainment. Now, as I say to people, look, Guyana, President, what is his first name? President Ali?
Yeah.
Right. He has invested a significant sum of money into sports, provide gears for cricket schools, provide gears to the primary schools, and coaches and so forth. Now, we've been talking in the Caribbean year in, year out. Tell me what is happening.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I even say, look, the independence, wonderful. Chris, you articulated it quite rightly. But as I said to people, this cricket, we have a stadium that is how much? 10, 20, 30 million dollars? We should use this period as a revival for that sport. Because you're going to light it, and the average crowd for a Caribbean cricket match without the English people is 2,000. So,
One viewer asked, what is the Ministry of Sports doing? What is their role in this?
well, again, that's an important question because to me, cricket is, look, I saw Professor Aman Singh from Jamaica, University of West Indies, blazing the Jamaica government. He calculated that there's 5 or 6 Jamaican players in the IPL altogether value more than 5 or 10 million US. And he's saying they make more money and they bring more money than the Olympic champions.
Yeah.
No, so Jamaica has not hosted an international match in 5 years. So he's saying to the government of Jamaica, you ignoring a product that is doing well in terms of when
putting your country on the map.
Yeah, when England comes. I mean, he spoke about Chris Gayle, who is internationally acclaimed. So that's what I'm saying. I don't understand why, let's say the OECS countries are not doing more than talk about, cricket. I mean, we have a, look, I said to a man, and I always like to tell people that. They say, maybe you are still a gear writer. I say, I think so too. I say, I think so too. Yes, I think. In 1976, I remember, Gary Grenada came last in cricket. So Eric called a meeting in York House, and York House was elite because Sokoti Strong and them were each other. Right. He said, Grenada cannot come last in cricket. He wouldn't accept it. Calls this meeting, said, we're not going to talk about why we come last. We're going to talk about why we must be number one. So this York House full of people from all over the island. First solution, they say, well, Richards went to Al Grover Cricket School in England, which was the number 1 in the world. So he said, we must go. So Kenny Hobson, the late Kenny Hobson, and Raphael Crowley. Coach, I think was Roland Butcher, one of these big coaches came in. Then they had a national tournament, 130-something teams played in it. Spoke to the employers every Thursday. Cricketers who are on teams were given from 2 o'clock to play in this 30-over match. Now, I'm not saying that that may be relevant today, but I'm saying that's the kind of approach I would expect to see in the Caribbean.
Particularly in the OECS.
Yes. I
We
mean,
need to group as one and decide
Correct.
how we're correcting this problem.
so that's why I challenge the lottery all the time that They may be good accountants, they may be good, successful managers, but you look at this thing in the Caribbean, sports not really, they may buy some equipment or pay for a team to go abroad. That's not what I'm talking about. St. Lucia, sooner or later going to be the #1 OECS country.
Yeah.
They seem to be, they have a Form 6 or something like that, Form 6, where it's Cape, because not GCE or whatever it is, it's Cape. So the best players, it's like when they had GBSS with the hostel, and they have tutors in the relevant subject. So that's what is going on. You know, they have a velodrome. So you play badminton, basketball, everything. Dominica has it. I'm asking
Well,
why.
I mean, given what we're hearing from you and your experience, has the government ever solicited your ideas and opinions?
People it's good to hear. I was glad to hear at least you read a couple of my articles. I don't think.
No, well, I read it all. No, it's current, it's up to date. You ask the right questions there, and I want to compliment you. In a serious way for this is really important, Ray.
But the 2035 plan speaks to sports and how we're going to approach sports. And there's very detailed aspects of that plan as to how we develop it at the grassroots level, come up and put back in the structure that you've been talking about that has been there. Obviously, it will require investment in dollars and support of the private sector and the community and getting them back involved. So let us hope that as we move forward in 2035.
Because I know, Chris, that, one gets the sense that this government has made a shift to young people, and that's important.
And that's good.
And that's
very
positive.
good. Yeah, that's good.
But intergenerational, not just consultation, but involvement is important. Someone with your experience and knowledge, critical in my opinion, that you be not just consulted, but you be part of that body if we're going to really move, I'm not going to use the word transformational here. We just need
take
to
it to the
enhance next level,
Well, your friend Naka,
really,
because you sponsored Sparklers for years.
Yeah. Still.
And I always compliment Naka on that, because Naka is one of those minds that...
Is he still active in this?
Well, he is doing something now which I think is so admirable.
Yeah.
He is highlighting the outstanding people from St. John's.
The book he wrote, wasn't it?
Not the book.
Not the book.
For Independence.
Yeah.
He has highlighted about 40, 50 of the best academics. I didn't even know Mr. Pierre, who was the first ICA. He's from Goa. I didn't realize he's from Goa. So there's so many, his profile and so many people. So that's what I'm saying, that yes, we need to sometimes step back. When Ricardo did that walk down Market Hill, I thought that was so something that I'm sure the grandchildren, because I think we all old enough, grandchildren would say, that used to happen?
Yeah.
So they're valuing us still.
My son, I used to have to pull back the pan. When that pan coming down Market Hill.
You had to apply brakes.
Those in the front and those in the back. Remember, and when Jab passed, forget it, nothing can come down Market Hill.
Because it's oil.
No. And I'm glad that you people are doing a program like that, because I'll tell you, you spoke about journalism. Again, let me say it to you. The journalists over the years came through GIS, because GIS used to be the serious part of the state. And then you after you learn too much, the government changed, so you defect, or you're going into private sector. Or like the Lou Smith, you went to Antilles, and you became top in the line. The Leslie Sion, you went to Barbados, Hermione, Margaret Roberts. You could call it, they always branch off. Now, I don't think we are developing that kind of vibrancy anymore. I think everything, as I told Shoma with an interview recently, is DJ, noise. So I think, again, we have to pay attention to that, because you talk about serious questions. You only can ask serious questions by intellect. And if you read,
and you're studying.
That is correct.
I'm running out of time though, but Ray, I want to ask you still play tennis? You still swim?
I play tennis minimum 8 hours a week, maximum 10 hours.
Table tennis?
Yes. I do a little lawn tennis now and then, but let me put it like that. My friends are getting fewer. They are getting old.
And it has to do, part of the thing with sport, it has to do with a healthy lifestyle, the exercise. Because that's an important part of games,
Well, let me tell
in a
you.
general sense. It's not intellect, but physical sports.
My
you
weight,
know.
my weight is 159 pounds. That's been 37 plus years now. And I'll tell you why it got there. I used to be 148, 152.
Yeah.
I had cut a hernia, and then the last one I cut about 8 years ago, Dr. Ray. You don't need to be walking top of the beach to the bottom of the beach.
Yeah.
And you don't need to skip that much again. So I cut out that and just the tennis alone. But I choose right now, I'm back to 5 green fig in the morning as breakfast.
5 green fig
5
in the
green
morning.
fig in the skin.
Green fig?
That's
I
correct.
don't like green fig so much.
Yeah.
I grow a lot of it, but I don't know, man.
That was my dad when
Yeah.
I used to be in the morning hosting the
As
show.
you talk about green fig, for this season gone, they ate more breadfruit than in my entire life.
Too much starch.
Right breadfruit, green breadfruit,
too much
roasted
starch.
breadfruit, fried breadfruit.
He doing that annoy me because I didn't go to the breadfruit fest. And he knows I'm a
but
breadfruit
it's
person as
important,
well.
I think, and I just want to make a point on this, that, for us, Chris, not you, I mean, persons like Ray and my category, age
Yes,
category.
yes. He's senior to you.
Obviously.
The importance of lifestyle and maintaining some minimum level of activity is important,
Quite right.
Yeah.
Well, I would hope, as you conclude,
Yeah.
I would say one thing about sports. You need to find, Ambrose no longer want to be involved in scenes. I mean, like many of us, he had to give way. But people like him brought a standard into sport.
Is that administrative?
Yeah, administrative, reporting.
There he was with GFA.
If
GFA,
you go to
yes.
a meeting right now, some sports association, the minutes is a hustle too. The financial report is hustle too. And the reason for that is nobody seems to see, true to the group that is hopefully going to take over,
Yeah.
that those are processes that you must always maintain. You must always maintain. So we have a lot of work to do because, quite frankly, I was, Smith, Angus was his name?
Yeah.
Not too, some time ago I met him and said, you used to be treasurer and there used to be this yearly reporting in the newspaper
Yeah.
from tennis. Do you see any sport association putting reporting in the newspaper anymore?
Yeah.
So while you may say that we move on,
Yeah.
but that kind of transparency and,
Professionalism,
we
detail.
need to bring it back.
As a private sector person who sponsors, we need that.
Right.
We need
Yeah,
that for the
the
transparency and the
accountability,
accountability of the
Right.
funds. And I must say, and I mean, Naka is my friend for many years. The reason Citizens Paints continue to sponsor sparklers is that we get full reports on sparklers.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything, financial progress, what
It's
have been
important,
done. And that is because of that over the years and the impact he has made with young people in the community, we believe it's a program to support.
Correct.
Right?
in
Many of
yeah.
them have gone on scholarships
Yeah,
and
yeah,
basketball
yeah,
and so
yeah,
on. So
yeah.
as Ray, and I'm supporting Ray, we need that from various sporting organizations.
Correct.
for
But
the
Ray,
force to
I
continue
know
to
that as we
invest.
close to, and in 10 seconds maybe I can answer it. Some time ago there were issues, controversy issues with the Olympic Committee and the organization. How's it now?
Well, I think they have settled down. I think Bernard Wilson, comes from the private sector. So he has brought a certain amount of diplomacy and reasoning because, confusion is easy to make, and pushing, sticks in the fire.
Right.
But I think he has handled whatever. They have sorted out things in the proper way. Auditors can fix or can advise. So I think they have done things that are admirable. And my only concern is to say, I'm not too sure we are passing on the talent of the Chris and the Ambrose, and I like my friend Chester Humphrey. Yeah, I think we may say the world changed, but that kind of process of asking questions, reporting and passing on documents so people can follow, I don't think that will ever finish.
Ray Roberts, we want to thank you very much for being here. I mean, I'm so impressed with you. You're a model, you're an example.
I hope your
to all
eyesight
of
is
us.
good.
Yeah, to all of us, and again, thank you on behalf of Chrissy and myself, Community Forum, and MTV Community Forum, for appearing.
Viewers, thank you for being with us. That's all the time we have. We want to thank you. See you next time, next week. Bye-bye.
Yeah, man.
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?